All right, so we've got ourselves a little how-to. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a little sneak peek. So this is in celebration of having 100 viewers, 100 subscribers. It's great. It's pretty cool. So, you know, we're a little bit out from 1 million, but it's all good. So I'm just going to show you how I use the gaming stuff in order to get my Corel stuff done even quicker. So you already know about the macros. So I'm going to basically show you how I went from using office supply stuff, basically Staples and Office Depot stuff. Again, nothing against that. But it seems like if you're going to do computer work, then you're going to be using office supply materials. So you're going to be using, you know, Logitech is the standard one where you have that little mouse that looks like a little beetle, and it has 2 AA's or AAA's in it, and it speaks with a little wireless and all that. And you have your big keyboard and all of that. So obviously using Corel, it's very specialized. And so then I started to, you know, I just basically jumped into it. Of course, I commandeered a computer at work. It came with the standard like Dell mouse for free that came with it. It had some kind of, you know, you know, swimsuit material like this neoprene mat that came with it that, you know, had a little cat that said hang in there or whatever. So you had the, you know, the kitten hanging from a branch, you know, hang in there. So, but after a while, I started to feel it. I was sitting at my desk, I had a chair, and I was just sitting at a desk. And I started to come up with all this macro stuff where I just push buttons and everything. But after a while, I realized I wasn't utilizing the whole keyboard. I don't type per se. There's only a few times you actually type words. Most of it is just creating parts, duplicating parts, moving them around. So that's essentially, I started to live across the keyboard over here. And that's when I found myself actually sitting like this all day, having the mouse over here on the right. And then I was using the direction keys here on a normal, you know, and I had a keypad. So I was using the plus of the number pad, and I was using the enter over here. I was using delete button over here. I was using the, you know, home up and home down for bringing stuff top and bottom of layers and all that. And so I found myself all day long working like this with my arm across the keyboard at a weird angle. And so then I started, when I get home, I started to feel it in my shoulder and, you know, in my rotation and stuff. So I was like, uh-oh, this is RSI. This is what makes you stop working at a computer because it gets too, you know, difficult. Pretty soon you've got a wrist brace and all that. So I started to investigate. I started to think about it. Well, you know, office people sit there all day, type, type, type. I don't do that. I need to do what other people who work at a computer all day but move around and do things. Those are gamers, obviously. So you've got gamers and you've got office people. No shade on either one, but there's obviously things are geared towards ergonomics. You know, you have the weird keyboards and things. That's not going to do me any good. I'm moving around, I'm manipulating, I'm doing things. So to me, that was esports. That was, you know, League of Legends kind of things where these guys are just going crazy. So I started to investigate, and I started with the mouse. So I kind of looked, I just did a quick Google, like, what is the best mouse? And of course, the Death Adder by Razer shows up. This is not an advertisement, but it shows up as, yes, it is the premier, you know, for the most part. You know, it's all personal preference. There's lots of different companies out there. But this one here, the main thing is it's super light. It doesn't weigh hardly anything, which is awesome. That's the whole idea. The other part of it is that it is bigger than a normal mouse. I don't know if you can kind of see how it's sort of stretched out, right? The buttons go straight out versus your normal sort of mouse. I don't really have a quote unquote normal mouse to show you in comparison, but it's sort of more just rounded, you know, more of a little ball kind of thing. So I'm a man of large stature. I've got bigger hands. I'm kind of tall, so I got really big hands. So the fact that I could actually, you know, this actually fits really nice in my hand. So that was immediately like, wow. So I just splurged on this. At the time, it was like $100. You know, you can get these cheaper now, but so I got this, and it made a big difference. The cord, also the other part of it is like, you know, losing the cord when you have the batteries in there, great, but about every 2 years or a year or so, all of a sudden your mouse isn't working as well, or sometimes there's pollution, even though they're sort of on a different wavelength or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes your mouse acts weird. Sometimes it's because there might be interference from something. You know, there's Wi-Fi, everyone's got cell phones, everyone's got earbuds, you know, so the 2.4 gigahertz range is very crowded. So I would notice every now and then my mouse wasn't responding quite right. And then of course you're like, oh, the batteries are going dead. So you got to stop, go find batteries. That takes you out of the game, pun intended. But anyway, so here we go. So I went ahead and got corded, because that way that's one less thing. I'm not taking this anywhere. This is just sitting here. So I don't need to have portability. I don't need to be able to take this with me. I'm not packing it up and going on an airplane with it or anything like that. So this is that's the Razer Death Adder. It's super slick. And then, okay, so I was using it on just a normal swimsuit material pad, and it's fine. It's great, works great. But then I was reading up on solid surface. So this is a Steel Series Quick something, I forget what it's called, but it's the medium size, kind of thin, but it's got a pebbly polycarbonate surface. And so once you mix that with these pads, this thing just slides on its own. Look at that. So yeah, I actually have a little coaster here that I park it on, just so that way it doesn't slide off the table. So that just means that I have almost zero effort moving this around. So I've eliminated the weight of a standard mouse. I don't have the RSI issue. And I do work at a standing desk. So that way it keeps my wrist at the optimum angle. Your wrist is supposed to be lower than your elbow. So that way you're not doing this, or you're not even just straight. If you want to bring it down a little bit, and they suggest, which is why this guy creeps, they suggest whoever, the ergonomics people, they suggest 5-degree tilt. So I have a custom, you know, because I make things out of metal, I have a custom bent 5-degree 090 pad tray that I built to the size of this Corsair gamer's pad. So everything sits on the game pad, doesn't slide, and then everything just sits here. So anyway, that's what I started with. The mouse is amazing for what I use it for. Plus you get 2 extra programmable buttons, which I'll show you in a minute. It gets real important because I'll discuss my Tartarus here in a second. I know that's what everyone wants to get to. That's the secret sauce right there. But anyway, so the mouse is awesome. You got the zooming in and out in Corel, of course, and then when you hold down on this, you get the hand to move things. So I'll show you how important that is. But this right here is Enter. I don't use it that much. I assigned it Enter. But this one here is Alt-Z. So for those who know, Alt-Z is how you turn Snap to on and off. 99.44% of the time, I want Snap to on. I basically make Legos. I want nodes to snap to each other. I want parts to be exactly where they are. They can't be off a little bit, fine. I know that, you know, when you're working with graphics and things, you want some movement. I want that also sometimes when I'm doing line segments and stuff, and the line segment is snapping to nodes. It gets kind of annoying. So all I got to do is use my thumb, and I shut it off, and I use my thumb again, and it turns it back on. Just that quick. I no longer have to come over here like an animal and go, and then go, you know, I just push a button, I'm snapping. I push a button, I'm back in it. Just that easy. So that's the mouse. The mouse pad is really great. So super slippery, so we'll park him for now. The keyboard, I used to have a 10 key, but I found that I'm no longer pushing buttons. I don't need any of it. So I said, you know what? Let's move it together a little bit. The full keypad made me kind of spread out a little bit, so my arms were a little wider than I liked them. So this kind of brought everything closer. So just like all the cool kids these days, I've got a 60% keyboard. This is also Razer. It's the Huntsman Mini. It's got optical switches, all that. It's great. It's awesome. But as you know, I hardly use the keyboard anymore because of macros. And the reason why I don't is this. Get yourself a Tartarus Pro. This thing, I think it's version 2 now or whatever. This thing is the powerhouse. It is amazing. So what I did on this guy is it's completely assignable. So I can switch over to I'll switch to the screen here. So using I know this is like one big advertisement for Razer. Anyway, so if you use the Synapse or Synapse, whatever, the Synapse, so you can use this to program your Razer Huntsman. So you can actually program any key you want. I have it set for CorelDRAW 2022. The only difference is that it makes it turn red so that I know, because when you fire this up, it does its RGB and it's really pretty, and it turns purple and all that. So for me to know that my settings are loaded, I have it go to red. So it does its RGB when I first turn on my computer, but then when everything snaps to red, I know that I have you can see I have this CorelDRAW. So you can make any kind of, so the idea behind this, it would be League of Legends, it would be Dota, it would be Overwatch, you'd have all your different, whatever. But for me, I've got set up for CorelDRAW. Now, the other thing is you go back to the Synapse. So let's go to the Tartarus Pro, but you can see where the Death Adder. So I have the Enter button is here, and then I have Alt Z. So you can program just that easy. But you can actually program any of these buttons for anything. And again, you can create a profile. So that handles the keyboard. And so this is the Tartarus. And so you can see where everything's green. It means it's all programmed. Okay. So I went ahead and mapped, and again, I created a profile here. I got my CorelDRAW 2022. So what I do is I went ahead and I copied. So I have Control, Shift, and Alt, right? Those are pinky anyway. So I went ahead and put Control here, and I put Shift here, and I put Alt here. So since these are kind of pinky as it is, I put them over here, and that works out awesomely. And then across the top, which is where your fingers are going to be, I have that set for usual suspects, the usual suspects. So I have at the very top left, this is where your finger is going to be automatically. I have that as delete. So I push this button, delete. Below that though, because I was kind of mimicking the 10 keypad. So the 10 keypad had delete, it had plus, and it had that. So I kind of had this over here. So one below is duplicate plus. It's just, I live and die by that. Make another one, make another one, make another one, plus, plus, plus. And then these two, I went ahead and you recognize Control G and Control U. So this is my group and ungroup. So right across the top here, I have delete, plus, ungroup, and group. And then over here, I have page up, page down, right shift, page up, right page. So that means that any objects I select, I throw them all the way to the bottom of the pile, or they go directly to the top. That's it. So I live in this area here, and my pinky lives right here. Perfect. Then what do we normally do? We usually like to center, top, bottom, right, left, right? So you have L for my left align. So I made a cross right here. So I made a little cross right here. So T for top, C for middle, B for bottom, L for left, right for right. But now you've got even align on the horizontal or the vertical, whatever. So I went ahead and put E over here in this little weird spot. So it's just above L. That's perfect. Once you learn it, it makes sense. So now I have one more, two more, three more buttons free. So I have to do combine and break apart. So that's Control L. They are separate, which is kind of nice. So if I got to combine, I just bring my ring finger down, I hit this, and then my index finger, I bring this down and I hit that to break apart. That leaves me one more function here. Convert to curves. Perfect. I live right there. So I just move over one from plus, convert to curves, we're done. This here is kind of redundant. I was using this for something else, but it's essentially, the same as this wheel. So not really necessary. I don't really use it that much. The other one is Control F8. If you know this or not, Control F8 switches between paragraph and artistic text, just normal text and then paragraph text. So if you hit this button, it'll toggle them back and forth. I do that a lot. It's great. Now, this is the amazing part right here. This right here saves you so much time, so much energy. This right here, your direction key, these are your nudges. These are your direction arrows, but it lives on your thumb. So all I got to do is up, down, left, right, just like that, and I'm nudging. And this one right here, nothing better. Control Z, undo, right? We live and die by undo. Here it is. I push that button, I push the little button right there, Control Z all day long. I went ahead and left this as space. This is really handy. So if you want to change your selection tools, or I use this when I'm ending a polyline, you know, so I go node, 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 I make a polyline, I push this button, and that's space bar, it ends the polyline. So essentially this thing right here, I do not have to take my hands off this. I hardly have to touch the keyboard anymore. It's only to like type in text or maybe some numbers here and there. But if for the most part now I've got it to 80–90% of the time, I have my hand on my mouse and I have my hand on my Tartarus and I got one hand in my pocket, and it's just, that's it. That's all I got to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you real quick the power of this by, I'm just going to make, let's make, we're just going to make a box that I'm going to send to route. So I'm going to make like a monument frame. So I am going to type here. So let's get the party started. And so it's going to be a 6 foot by 3 foot little box here. And so you can see I got my hand on my Tartarus. I got my mouse here. And you can see the mouse, the range of motion. All I'm doing is touching right here. It doesn't get sore at the end of the day, but that's the only pivot point. There's a little bone right there. And I just rest right there. And I have my entire range of motion. I can go all the way over here, and I'm in my third screen. This is my third screen. You don't really see it, but it's my laptop screen to the left. It has my email and stuff over there. This is my middle screen where I work. And then all I got to do is move just a tiny bit here, and I'm over here into my right screen. So this is my range of motion. Once I get lined up, I don't need to pick up the mouse. I can just do everything from right here. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna explain things as I go, but you can watch on both hands just how powerful this is. So first thing I do is I select it, and let's go ahead and make a 2-inch flange, and I'm gonna hit one shot. So that's gonna put my inlines and my 090 skin. So this is like a side view, and this is where the 2-inch flange goes right to this. So that's a 2-inch inline. Now I have the 2-inch inline and the outline already selected, because then I'm gonna grab this tool and I'm gonna hit jiggies, and that's gonna automatically make the flanges. These are the angle flanges that I'm gonna use to break out. So I'll show you how that goes. So we can get these out of the way for now. Now the nuggets, I call these nuggets. These are representative of a 090 on its side. So this lets me know the material thickness. And then when you bring these two together, since we are not gonna chamfer and score, and put a bevel on this so that we have two 45s coming together, one of these is gonna win and one of these is gonna lose. So depending on, so this is gonna be a seam between these two pieces. So do I want the seam here, or let's grab, so let's grab movie here. So we're gonna grab move it. And so all this does is, instead of having to change my nudge up here, I leave my nudge at 1 inch. That way I don't have to, again, cognitive load. I don't have to think whether this is, did I leave it at 1/2 inch? What did I leave it as last? I have my own nudger here, which lets me keep loaded custom ones here, but it gives me all my usual suspects. And that way I don't have to take my hand off and type and do anything. I have it all right here. So I use move it. So I can scooch this one down 09, and I can move this over. Now this means that this will have the seam on the side, and that you'll see this edge of this material poking out like that. See, so because this is gonna be like a little monument sign, I want the edges to be clean. That way when they Bondo, put the Bondo seam on top, and that way the whole side is contiguous and it looks sexy that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this, and again, snap 2 is on. You can see me just snapping these nodes. See how it says node there? But all I gotta do is hit my button here, and now my snap 2 is off. And so I don't know, see, it'll line up anywhere I want it to. And see, that's, I don't live this. It needs to snap for me. So I push my button again on my thumb, just like that, snap 2's back on, just that quick. And then you saw how I sent that down. Again, I'm just hitting that with my ring finger. Back up, back down, back up, back down. Top of layer, bottom of layer, top of page, bottom of page. So let's start flying. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna grab this guy. I'm gonna grab this guy. We're just gonna snap the node there. We're gonna snap the node there. And then I'm gonna go down here. And we're gonna snap the node here and snap the node there. Now, I know you're like, well, why don't you just write a macro for this? I do, but the decision of which side gets long, which side gets short is kind of a human decision. So I kind of still do it by hand just to make sure. Now I'm gonna break this apart. So I have a button right here that says break nodes. I'm gonna break it, and it breaks it into 4 pieces, just like that. So now this is a separate piece. And I'm gonna use that to do my clicos. So I'm gonna come over here, hit tools, and I'm gonna have my clico holes at 4. So if I hit that button there, it puts cliques down. So I'm gonna hit cliques, and I'm gonna hit cliques, and I'm gonna hit cliques. Okay, so now we're set. So I've got, these are gonna be ready for the braces in the middle there, the jiggies. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these 2 and I'm just gonna duplicate them, and I'm gonna scoot them, and I'm gonna duplicate again, I'm gonna scoot, just like that. And then I'm gonna take the inside ones here, and on my rectangular here, I have the horizontal centers. So I push a button there. And again, I use my mouse to do it. Is there a keyboard shortcut? Of course there is. Control something, something. I don't got time for that. I just push a button. I have them right here. I got horizontal centers. I got horizontal spacing. I got vertical center, vertical spacing. That's all I need. And I know right where they are. Cognitive load, just like my mise en place. I can almost do this without looking. When I have these selected, my hand is already just going like that. And I've got these just rapid fire. So now I like that spacing. I kind of like my clicos around 10 inches. You know what? Let's do one more. And then I'm going to hit it like that. I'm going to hit a horizontal spacing just that quick. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit duplicate. I'm going to bring it down. I'm doing my shift nudge for my 12-inch. And then I'm going to hit E for even, and we're good to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate a couple of these. We're going to do like that. We're going to do vertical spacing just like that. And I'm going to get those out of the way, but I'm going to go ahead and line it up with this. I'm going to hit C. That's going to bring it over. So we have basically the makings of the flanges of a box. So now it's time to break these out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. I'm not going to worry about not selecting things. I'm just going to grab everything, hit plus, and I'm going to hit up, and I'm going to go up about a foot just to get out of the way. And then I'm just going to delete anything that's duplicate, just like that. And then I'm going to group it, and then I'm going to grab my magic box machine, and I'm going to say that this thing is how wide? 12 inches. Okay. So this is a 12-inch wide cabinet. So this is the one flange. This is the 2-inch flange. And we're going to go to the top. And it's going to duplicate the flange on the other side. And it's going to automatically make me a square that is selected. That's awesome. So then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to break that out. And we're going to go an inch. And we're going to get rid of any duplicates. And again, I'm just zooming and moving around using the hand. And then we're going to go to the right like that. Now, sometimes these are a little bit different. I could just duplicate the top and the bottom, because these are the same, so I could just duplicate the whole thing and drag it down. But sometimes I do have an asymmetrical sign. But being that I know I'm going to do a test, if I grab these 2, then this is 165. We know that we're centered up, so we're fine. So I am going to just grab this, hit duplicate, and I'm just going to do shift nudge, just like that. And I'm going to bring that down. We are set. Now I'm going to, let's make the actual extrusions. So sometimes I'll make the whole piece right off this, but sometimes I like to have sort of a major undo. So I like to duplicate this up and create the part that we're going to need, and leave this as a matter of record. That way, if I want to get rid of this one and it's goofy, I can just destroy it and go back to the original copy. Now, if it isn't that complicated, I might just make the part right from here. I don't delete anything. I don't destroy anything. Whatever I'm making is just going to be there forever. I break these out into another page. I talk about this. So in another video, but for this, I'm just going to go ahead and just create copies of. But anyway, so I'm just duplicating and I'm dragging 2 down. That's 2 feet in real life, but it brings it down about that much. So now I'm set up to where I can go ahead and select this, and I don't need you anymore. Thank you for your service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this make TS, that's make through shape. And so that creates a shape, and it's named through shape. And this is now being prepped to go to route. So when I do my export, it's going to look for things called through shape. It's very important that it's named through shape. So now I'm going to do is just drag and drop a rectangle right there. And then I'm gonna select the two of them just like that, and then I'm gonna weld them. But now I know Corel welds, but this weld button's special in that once I push weld, it sends the piece automatically to the back. I want it to the back. I don't want it to the front. As you can see, if it's to the front, then you can't see anything. If I hit wireframe, you can see what I'm not seeing. So I need this to be to the back. That was an extra step. So you hit, you know, CorelDRAW weld, and then you got to go Control Shift down, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So now my button just does it all in one. Now these nodes are redundant, so I'm deleting those, and I'm going to just go like that. And then same thing here, I'm just going to delete those, and I'm going to bring these back. I'm going to go like that, and we are set. So that is back an 09. So that means this piece is losing, I call it, it's shy. It's going to have deference to the bigger piece that has to go long. And that's this guy, he's the winner. So you got the winner and you got the loser. So this part is just about ready. Now what I'm gonna do is just ungroup everything, and then I'm gonna select all of the clicos. So I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna shift them down a 16th because I know my nudge is a 16th, just like that. And we're good to go. And then I'm gonna hit this for scribe lines, and I'm gonna hit top and bottom. That's gonna put my scribe lines wherever they need to be, and that's how we broach the materials to have a nice clean bend, and everything lines up perfectly. Once I know this piece is good to go, I hit G to G down here on my Mr. Goodbar. I push that button, and it gives me a little green dot. That's a little stamp that says good to go. So that way I can audit this piece later, and when I see green dots on everything, I know I'm good to go. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. So I'm gonna go ahead and break it apart now, or ungroup, make through shape. I'm gonna grab this, go node to node, weld it. And now this one is gonna be proud. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a couple of notches up, and then I'm gonna grab these two, and I'm gonna line these up to the nodes there. Then we grab these two nodes, I come down, shift, and I go like that. So that piece, that end is trimmed and ready to go. This gives me two bumps there. I go like this, I bring this in like this, and then I go like this for a 16th, and then I bring that back too, and we're lined up, we're good to go. So that's the piece. And then I'm gonna go ahead and give it a couple of scribe lines, and then I'm gonna bring my cliques in. I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna multi-select that, bring those in a 16th. I'm gonna do a multi-select on this. There you go. So that piece is good to go. I'm gonna hit G to G. You know what? We're gonna put a switch on this. So I'm gonna hit my switch hole. This brings up our patented pending switch plate. So instead of just doing a circle in the side of this thing and putting the toggle switch with the boot sticking out, which everyone does wrong anyway, this allows for us to make a modular serviceable plate that is easy to install the switch on, and it also gives you a scribe for off and on. But this allows us to mount the switch externally from the sign, and then makes it easy to install it when it comes time to assemble the sign. This also allows us to create these switch plates kind of when we're slow or something. We can go ahead and make a bunch of them in advance, so we can get like a box of switches, mount them up to switch plates, and then the switch plates are just sitting there on the shelf ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and make that gray, because my 10% gray lets me know it's aluminum, so that's my kind of my coating. So now I like that. That's got a switch plate in it. So let's go ahead and get it good to go. Same thing here. We're going to do that again. We're going to make a through shape. We're going to grab that node. We're going to go to that node. Now we know that this one is going to be also shy. This one's going to be a loser because that little nugget is back. So we're going to delete that, and we're just going to snap the node like that. And again, I'm going to ungroup to get those clicos loose. Just like that. And then I'm going to throw some bend scribes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and mark this one as bottom. So I'm just going to hit my bottom stencil, and we'll hit that. And just that easy, if I select these, I go like that. There you go. And I'm going to do UL hole. So I have a UL hole. Now, a UL hole is minimum class 0.25, I went ahead and make it 0.26, just in case the router isn't quite making it as big as it needs to be. Now, UL holes have a maximum distance of what class? 48 inches. So if I go over here and then I grab my, how far is it if I hit this? Centers are at 48x. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this in an inch, and I'm gonna bring this in an inch. That way we are, oops, let's grab these two. There we go. Yep, 46 apart, better. That way they can't give us any shtick. So they don't see me, UL guy. So like that, there we go. And then, yeah, this is top, just for the guys in the back so they don't get confused. That's top. And let's put an arrow on this guy here. So if I select it and I hit arrow, it's gonna put it right in the center of that. And let's move it up a foot. There you go. So that's the top, that's the sides. Now, because these are the same, I am gonna go ahead and duplicate. And I'm gonna go over here. And then we are going to get rid of this. And then we're good to go. And so what we have here is basically a cabinet ready to go. Now, what I like to do is I also like to put flanges on the ends that bend. That way it keeps this sort of, you know, good to go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna hit X and it's gonna load it up as 12 inches wide. And I'm gonna go ahead and go down here to 1 because I want it to be 1 inches tall. I'm gonna turn it into a jiggy. So that makes it magenta. Then I'm gonna put a 45 on it like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and send that to the top and center it. And then we're gonna shorten it by 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna select this side. Actually, we're gonna scooch. That's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna move this 1/4 of an inch like this. And we're gonna go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1/4 of an inch. Right? And then I'm gonna put an inline in this, like this. I'm gonna change it to an inline, which is a light blue. And I'm gonna send it to the back, and I'm gonna line it up like that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna have, possibly we could rivet this. So I'm gonna put this to the top center. And I'm gonna give that a nudge that way, and I'm gonna give this a nudge this way, and we are good to go. And so I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate that. I'm gonna move it up, and I'm gonna group it. And so these go on the losing side. So I'll go over here, click turn 90. Okay, and then I'm gonna shorten this guy by 0.9. And then I'm gonna throw some more bend scribes on both sides like that. And then I'm also gonna extend that by 3/8. I'm gonna extend that by 3/8, okay? Extend that by 3/8. And now what we're gonna do is include these flanges in the overall piece by welding. And then because these are inch and they're 45 and my nudge is an inch, all I gotta do is hit that node once with a quick nudge, just like that with my thumb. We're good to go. And now, last thing to do is ungroup everything again, just to get these loose. And we're gonna shift these a 1/16. There you go. So those are the end flanges. And now what we need to do is flip this boy and just line it up with the top. Oops, I didn't group it. Group, now line it up at the top. There you go. So now these holes, so this flange is imprinted with those holes, will line up with this flange here. So that way this will be perfectly 90. There won't be any sagging or moving. This will be super strong along this edge and we're sexy. So now what we're gonna wanna do is duplicate this to the bottom. So I go like this, I just flip it and I bring it to the bottom and I hit B and that sends that to the bottom. And then what we wanna do is duplicate these two and send it over to our buddy. So we'll just get those out of the way. And then I'm going to shift select both of those, hit that button and it sends that, boom, we're done. So that gets those lined up there, but there isn't anything we can do with the bottom. So we could theoretically, just copy the top and bring it back down and kind of rearrange things. But again, I just want to make sure things are done right. Plus, I'm kind of showing you how it's done. So, oops. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that right C, line that up. We're going to shorten this up by 0.9. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Give that a flip, send it over to the outside left. And then I'm going to hit the node to the node. And then we're going to weld that. That's going to get sent to the bottom like we do. That's going to get an inch over, and an inch over, and an inch over, and an inch over. And then we're going to throw some, we're going to send that to the top level, just like that. We're going to throw some scribe lines on both ends. That scribe line is going to add so it sticks past. And just like that. All right, so you can see these clecos are off of this blue line. This light blue line is just for reference to make sure that these have shifted a 1/16. If they were directly on when we bend this, the clecos, the temporary rivets, when we assemble these, they won't line up. So you got to make sure that moves. And there you go. So that's 4 pieces ready to go. And you can see how little my hands moved. That's just economy of motion. That's how fast you can get things done. So if I click and drag this over this way, there's our face. We can get rid of those. We'll just hit that bam. Let's see, make through shape. There's our face with the lined up cleco holes. Let's go ahead and say that's the inside. So there's inside. Let's do arrow up. There you go. So there's our face. Let's make some jigs. So we've got 2-inch flange, which means I like to do, we can do 1.5 inch jiggies by, let's say 6. So I like to make jigs green outline. That's kind of like my design language, so I know when I'm looking at stuff. And so let's go ahead and turn this 90, just like that. And we'll take those two. If I click this, it makes it a through shape. So let's hit weld. Now it's called a through shape. It's named, it's welded, and it's named a through shape all in one. So I don't have to go back and do that like some kind of animal. So let's just apply this to every corner. So I'll just go like that, and we will go like that. So let's apply this to here. And again, snap to all day. There you go. And just like that. Click. There you go. So now I got my jigs. So I'm going to take these jigs here. Just duplicate those. I'm going to drag them over here, and then I'm going to clean them up. Get rid of everything. Actually, I'm going to do my send it. We just need to get rid of nuggets. So if I select this and hit nugget, it's going to grab nuggets, get those out of the way. I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit that. And now I got to do is just hit this. If I look over here, if I hit through shape, it's going to find these 4 items, and I like to make them sort of a greenish color, so that lets me know jigs. Even though this is aluminum, these are jigs. So there you go. Now we need 2 sets of those. So these are good to go. And this is good to go. And let's just make 2. There you go. So that's how you make a box. And having the ability to, you know what, we need a couple of braces in there too, don't we? Nah, don't worry about that. Anyway, that's a box.
Check the technique. Check the technique. See if you can follow it.